الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه أجمعين. We completed the chapter of adjectives. I think that was 3 weeks ago. And inshallah, this week we will be talking about the chapter of conjunctions. Who knows what conjunctions are? Conjunctions are basically the words that you use to join two things, like and, or, things like that. So in Arabic as well, we have those words, and we call them huruf al-atf. So the author says, rahimahullah, وحروف العطف عشرة وهي الواو والفاء وثم وأو وأم وإما وبل ولا ولكن وحتى في بعض المواضع. فإن عطفت بها على مرفوع رفعت أو على منصوب نصبت أو على مخفوض خفضت أو على مجزوم جزمت. تقول جاء زيد وعمر ورأيت زيدا وعمرا ومررت بزيد وعمر. He says, and the particles of conjunction are 10, and they are al-waw, al-fa, wa thumma. So the first three are and, then, and after. So in Arabic, al-waw in Arabic means and. Al-fa in Arabic is used for conjunction, but it indicates order, meaning, for example, if I said Zayd and Amr came, from and you cannot infer order, right? Zayd may have come first or Amr may have come first. I'm just telling you that they both came. But what if I wanted to tell you in which order they came, right? So in Arabic, if you don't care about the order, you would say wa. You would use wow. You would say wa. So you would say, for example, جاء okay, جاء زيد وعمر. So here I'm just simply saying that Zayn al-Amr came. I'm not really indicating the order. But if I said the same thing, right, I'm gonna be lazy, and I put فعمر جاء زيد فعمر, Zayd came then Amr. Zayd came then Amr. Then wouldn't that indicate order? It indicates that Zayd came first and then Amr came, right? So in Arabic, al-fa basically indicates order, which in English you would say then. And it indicates that it like the coming of Amr was close to the coming of Zayd. The coming of Amr was close to the coming of Zayd. And what if we want to keep the order, but we want to say that the coming of Amr was far away from was apart from the coming of Zayd, meaning Zayd came and then after a while Amr came. Then in that case you would use thumma, right? In that case you would use thumma. So you would say the same thing. You would say the same thing. You would just put جاء زيد, and then instead of that you would put ثم عمرو, right? And then in English I've translated as after, like Zayd came, so if I was to translate this to English, I would say Amr came after Zayd. Amr came after Zayd. But in word by word in Arabic, it's like came Zayd after Amr. And we have to realize that what comes after thumma is what comes last. But in English, what comes after is what comes first, right? For example, you say Zayd came after Amr, it means Amr came first and then Zayd came. But with thumma, when you say جاء زيد ثم عمرو, it means Zayd came and then Amr came. So even the order is preserved even in the writing. But in English, when used after, the order is not preserved in the writing. Does that make sense?
Yes, brother.
Okay. So that's thumma. And then we have three other particles. وأو وأم وإما. وأو وأم وإما. And these, excuse me, and these are a special category of particles of conjunctions. They mean basically, they have the meaning of or. So the first one is or. The second one, also in English, it would be or, but I will explain the difference to you right now. And then the last one is either. So for example, the first, for example, أو in Arabic is used to give a person options. To give a person options, or to indicate the permissibility of something. For example, I would say, I would say in Arabic, أنكح هندا أو أختها أو أخت أو أخت أو أختها. I'm saying marry Hind or her sister. Is this for giving? Is this for permissibility or options? If I said تزوج هندا أو أختها, am I giving you options here, or am I telling you that both are permissible?
Options. It's for options.
Yes. So, exactly. So I'm giving you options because both together are not permissible, right? You cannot marry Hind and her sister at the same time. So I'm giving you options. You either pick this one or that one. You cannot marry Hind and her sister, because in Islam you cannot marry someone and her sister at the same time, right? So because the sister of the person's wife becomes haram to them. It becomes haram to them, and if they, for any reason, they think they can get married, it'll become zina. Whatever they do becomes zina. So that's why it doesn't indicate that both are permissible. In time, it indicates that you have two options, either this one or that one, and these are uh, exclusive, meaning you cannot choose both options at the same time. And then, and then what for permissibility, I say, for example, study fiqh, study grammar or morphology, right? I mean, I'm telling you that both options both of these are permissible for you. You can do them both at the same time. It's really up to you. You can do either. You can do one, both, or none actually. But you should do at least one if you want to learn Arabic. You should do both if you want to learn Arabic. So yeah, so that's the difference between so that's how "aw" is used. "Aw" can also either be used for giving a person options, or for indicating that things are permissible, and which also indicates that the person has options. But there's a distinction basically the distinction that I made does exist. And then M is actually used for when you want to ask, when you're asking something to choose something. For example, when you're asking a question, when you request that a person chooses something, you say, please choose either this one, or please choose this one or that one. Or for example, if you ask a question, which one do you want, this one or that one? That's a better way of putting it. You ask a question, do you want this one or that one? In that case, you would not use "aw," and if it's a question, you would say, you would use "am." So you'd say, "تريد هذا أم هذا?" Something like that. تريد أن تدرس الفقه أو النحو. Yeah, so you have to choose. Basically, you use it when there's a question, right? تريد أن تدرس الفقه أم النحو. Or another example from the book would be أدرست الفقه أم النحو. أدرست الفقه أم النحو. So there's a difference between أو أم and am a bit more clear right now. Let me actually write an example.
Brother, I'm a bit confused.
Yeah, I'll try. Go ahead, sorry.
For Ao, you asked a question as well, didn't you? Like, do you want to?
No, I said that.
Okay.
Oh, did I say ask? I thought so. I said marry Hind or her sister. That's what I
Oh,
said.
wasn't that a
Or her.
question? Or okay, I thought that
No, it
was a
wasn't.
question.
It was. I
Sorry.
was a command. It was. I.
Okay. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, no problem. So with the first one, تزوج هند أو أختها, marry Hind or her sister. This indicates that you're telling him either do this or that, right? When you say, and with the second one, أدرست الفقه أم النحو, you're actually asking the person to answer you either whether they have studied fiqh or nahu, right? And then imma is either. For example, you say, the example that the author gives is, so you can actually use the same example that we gave earlier. تزوج إما هندا أو وإما أختها. Either marry Hind or her sister. So the either part is important. We're actually adding another element here. We're adding the either Hind or either her sister. Okay. Is this clear? Should we move on, or do you have any questions? If it's not clear, please let me know. I know it can be a bit tricky.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, no, brother, it's clear.
Okay. Jazakumullah khairan. So we'll move on to the next. We'll move on to the next three particles. Bal, wala, walakin. So bal it means rather. For example, you say Zaid did not come. Rather it was Amr, right? So basically, the way it's used is to give the positive ruling of what comes before it to what comes after it. For example, when you say the example that the author gives is جاء محمد بل جاء محمد بل بكر. He says you say Muhammad came rather Bakr. Muhammad came rather Bakr. Now this is a bit tricky because it's hard. I'm not sure if rather maps to bel one to one, but basically what you're doing is you are whatever comes before bel, like I said, it's ruling. You give it to what comes after it, and you remain indifferent. You remain silent about what comes before it. For example, the example that the author gives is ما جاء محمد بل بكر. Mah- Muhammad did not come, rather Bakr. So in this case, what you're saying is Muhammad did not come, rather Bakr came. That is what you're saying in reality. Rather Bakr came. There's a came here that is not written. So what you're saying here is you're affirming the coming of Bakr. You're affirming the coming of who? You're affirming the coming of Bakr. But you are not necessarily negating the coming of Muhammad. You are simply saying that what you may have thought, that Muhammad came, but rather it was Bakr. We have no idea, we have no information about Muhammad, whether he came or not, but we actually, what you need to know is that Bakr came, right? So you're not necessarily negating the coming of Muhammad, but rather you are saying what we know is that Bakr came. Whether Muhammad came or not, that's not something that we are aware of. Does that make sense? So you, in English, you would say Muhammad did not come, rather Bakr came. Meaning, when you say Muhammad did not come, it doesn't mean that, like, in reality Muhammad did not come. It's just in based on your information, based on what you know, it's not Muhammad who came, but rather it is Bakr. You don't know whether Muhammad has come or not. I know it can be a bit tricky to wrap your head around this one, but let me know if you have any questions that would clarify this a bit more.
How about other cases of rather? Like when we say, I'd rather do this, for example, in English. So
Yeah,
would
so
that be the same? Yeah.
yeah, that would not be the same. So only this
Okay.
meaning of rather would apply to bal. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. What was the example you gave? I would rather do this.
Yeah, I'd rather do. I don't know. I'd rather eat now rather than sleep, for example.
Yeah. So that, I think that, I'm sorry. I for some reason my brain went somewhere else. So that is actually what you're saying. I would rather sleep. You're saying I don't want to eat. I would rather sleep. Meaning I'm indifferent about eating at this point. Yeah, again, so in Arabic there might be a slight difference here, because you're indicating your indifference about what comes before, but maybe rather in English is not necessarily the same. You're not indicating your indifference, you're indicating your um, um, maybe you're indicating that that you don't want to, you don't want to eat. It's not that you're indifferent about it. But then, so the point here I want you to take away is that what comes before bal is, as the author says, is al-maskutu anhu. So what comes before it, you are silent about it, meaning you do not know, you're indifferent, you do not know. but you want to affirm the ruling for what comes after it. So in English, when you say I would rather sleep, you're actually saying something else implicitly before it. You're saying I don't want to eat, rather I would rather sleep, right? Or something like that. And both of them are eating and sleeping is what the nafs wants. So maybe we should say I don't wanna eat. I would rather go pray. Maybe that's a better example. So bal wala walakin. So does this make it a bit more clear?
Yeah, brother. It does.
Okay, alhamdulillah. And then la, which means no or not. This one, not this one, right? This one, not this one. You're actually conjoining them. You're saying I want this one, not this one. Right? This is not is actually the opposite of rather, right? Well, because rather indicates what comes after it is the desired thing, or is affirmative, is confirmed, but not indicates that what comes before not is affirmed, is confirmed. So, for example, I slept. Not I want this, not this, right? Or you say the house is warm, not cold, right? You are affirming what comes before it rather than what comes after it. But in the case of bal, you are affirming the ruling. You're confirming the ruling for what comes after, not what comes before. An example for la would be جاء بكر لا خالد. Bakr came, Khalid did not Khalid. Bakr came, not Khalid. And then you have lakin. Lakin is but. And again, lakin, if you guys remember, we talked about lakinna, but lakin is a bit different. So for lakin is used to again to affirm what comes before it, and affirm the negative or the opposite of it for what comes after it, right? For example, you say لا in Arabic you would say لا أحب الكسالى لكن المجتهدين. Let me write that down, maybe it'll make it easier. لا أحب الكسالى لكن المجتهدين. You're saying I do not like lazy people. Again, this would be kind of you would explain. Perhaps it would be rather here as well. I do not like lazy people. Rather, I like those who struggle. Now here, what you're doing is you're confirming that you do not like lazy people. That's for sure. So basically, you're not in this case. You're not indifferent about what comes before, but you're actually affirming what comes before it, and then you verify or you confirm the opposite of that for what comes after it. So the opposite of not liking is what? Liking, isn't it? So you say I do not like lazy people, and then the opposite of not liking is liking. So what comes after it is that means actually you like those people. So I say لا أحب الكسالى لكن المجتهدين, meaning أحب لكن أحب المجتهدين. Does that make sense? Meaning rather I do not like lazy people, but I do like those who struggle. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. So at this point, we only have one left, one more particle, and that is hatta. Hatta means even. For example, you would say مات الأنبياء حتى مات الناس حتى الأنبياء. Uh, people die, even prophets. People die, even prophets. People die, even prophets. So in this case, you are. This is also a conjunction because you're conjoining what comes after even to what comes before it, right? So you say مات الناس حتى الأنبياء. People die, even prophets. So that's the last one. Quickly, let's go over them again. Wa, which means and, alfa, which means then, thumma, which means after, aw, which means or, which means or again, but I told you the difference between them. Imma, which means either, wa bal, which means rather, la means not, lakin means but, and hatta means even, right? And then, so now this is, now that you know the conjunctions, now we go to what we actually wanted to discuss, and that is how it comes into play when it comes to inflections. So the author says, if you conjoin to a marfu' noun, you make the conjoined marfu'. Meaning, if what comes after wow, for example, wow is the conjunction, right? Which means and. What comes after wow has the inflection what comes after it. Well, that is what the author says. So if you conjoin to a marfu' noun, let's say Zayd, you make the conjoined marfu' as well. So for example, you say Ja'a Zaydun, you wa, you are conjoining to Zaydun, which is marfu, wa amrun. Therefore, the conjoined, which is amr, will become marfu as well, right? The same thing with mansub, or to a mansub noun, you make it mansub. You say ra'aytu Zaydan, which is mansub, and then and wa amran, the conjoined is amr. Therefore, amr also becomes mansub. Ra'aytu Zaydan wa amran. The same thing with mahfud, with khafad. You say marartu bi Zaydin. Zaydin here is mahfud. Wa amrin. And then here you conjoined amr, you added amr to Zayd. Therefore, amr will also become mahfud. You say marartu bi Zaydin wa amrin, right? And the examples are here. تقول جاء زيد وعمر. You say Zayd came and Amr came, right? And so they're both marfu'. So they would both be marfu'. Let me put this. So they are both marfu' here. And then you say رأيت زيدا وعمرا. They're both mansub here. And then you say مررت بزيد وعمر. وزيد وعمر. So they're both majrur here. Okay. Any questions? That is it for today. There's really nothing else about conjunctions. So if I will leave the next 5 minutes for or 2 to 5 minutes for questions if you have any.
Rather, more of a comment, I guess. I mean, it seems the marfu noun itself is very important. From there, we can figure out like if the conjunction, like what the i'rab of the conjunction will be, the i'rab of the adjective, for example.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a good point. That is why we call these followers. So there are 4 followers of marfu' nouns, and also either or mansub nouns or makhfud nouns. So there are basically 4 followers. The first type is the adjective, as we discussed. The second type is the al-atf, which also we discussed, and then there is the emphasis, which we will which we will discuss as well, and then there's the replacement, which also we'll discuss. So, so far we have talked about two of the followers, like I said, the adjective and the conjunction. But that is a good point. What you really want to know is the i'rab of the first noun, and then the i'rab of the conjoined, or what comes after the conjunction, is very easy. It's just the i'rab of what comes before it.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Good
brother.
comment. Jazakumullah khairan.
Just another quick question. Didn't we study that hatta means until previously?
So that's why the author says, and even hatta in certain places. So hatta can have different meanings. Sometimes hatta can mean until. Sometimes it is also can mean even. So that it has actually multiple different meanings. Inshallah, which we will go over. I think we've discussed three meanings of hatta. The first one is that did we talk about the fact that it is one of the particles of khafad? So hatta can be one of the particles of khafad, and it can also be an agent of nasab, and it can also be a conjunction. So I'm not sure which ones we talked about and which ones we didn't. But I think we at least talked about the fact that it's an agent of nasab, right?
Okay, brother. Got it. Thanks.
Okay. So last week's class was just review, Brother Alamuddin. That's why we did not record it. So inshallah, we will leave it at this. If there are no more questions, we can conclude the class. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه أجمعين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. جزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم.